What's up, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty Fan Podcast. We got a good show for you today. Going to be talking about some Week 4 reactions and takeaways. So, what's going on, Ryan? How you doing today?
Doing well, man. Excited. We had a great week 4 so far. A lot of points being scored. It seems like for fantasy purposes, especially at the RB and wide receiver position. So it's been a good week so far.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely some good performances, man, from these RBs. Some of these veterans that we were a little bit worried about, right? Definitely had some big weeks. And some of these rookies, too, continuing to shine. So, we'll get into that in a little bit. We'll get into the rookies in a little bit. Let's talk about some of these veterans. Who you want to talk about, Ryan?
Well, I think for me, the veteran that I thought had a great game and really, he's really somebody that I didn't see this coming from. It's Josh Jacobs. He's RB1 on the week. Actually, he's RB2 on the week. So he just finished behind Ekeler, but RB2 on the week, 34.5 points for in fantasy and PPR. He had 28 rushing attempts.
Wow.
Crazy number. 28 rushing attempts, 144 yards. So he was efficient on the ground, had 2 TDs on the ground. But the big thing for me and the big takeaway for Jacobs is the targets. He had 6 targets. He caught 5 balls for 31 yards. And for PPR, that is huge. Week 1, 1 target. Week 2, 1 target. Week 3 and 4 now, we've seen back-to-back weeks with 5 targets and 6 targets. So if that continues, if that trend continues, Jacobs can be an RB1 rest of the season. He can be a top 10 running back because he's in a good offense. They're going to move the ball with those weapons. And so if he can add that, 4 or 5 targets a week consistently, right? That's always kind of been his problem, is just kind of being inconsistent in the passing game. But if he can add that, he could definitely finish as an RB1 rest of the season.
Yep. So definitely a couple of RBs that really were close to like 30 carries, man. Josh Jacobs was one of them, and yeah, you definitely love to see the six targets because that's just going to basically raise his floor and his ceiling. Because normally that was the worry with him, was like he'd get 18 carries, even if he gets you 100 yards, right? It's a 10-point game. So now if he's getting some targets in there, definitely going to raise his ceiling and his floor at the same time. So definitely has RB1 potential rest of the way if he's going to be getting those targets. And another player, right? Two other players basically that got nearly the same amount of carries was Saquon Barkley had 30 carries and Miles Sanders, man, with 27 carries, 3 targets. So both big games from Barkley and Sanders. You definitely like to see that, man. Sanders with 27 carries, that's ridiculous. And he also had 3 targets as well. Ended up with 2 receptions. But what was good about Sanders was the goal line work, right? He gets some goal line work, gets a couple of touchdowns on the ground. So definitely good to see for Sanders. That was one of the worries. That was why we had him as one of our sells early on in the season. We saw Kenny Gainwell getting in there on the goal line. Then we saw Boston Scott. So it's definitely good to see. Only three targets, which still is a little low, but that's still not bad, right? It's better than one. So still good to see with a few targets, and then definitely the goal line work. And then Barkley, man, 30 for basically 147. Only got 2 targets, but still not bad to see. Barkley definitely looks great out there, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's good to see. And that's really somebody that I don't have a lot of shares of, is Saquon. He looks like his old self, very explosive out of the backfield. Um, And so I think that he's somebody that's going to keep it up, barring any injury, but he's probably going to finish as the overall RB1 or 2. Um, we're a quarter of the way done now with the season after week 4, basically about a quarter of the way. So he's been solid, man. And it's good to see that, because I know it's been tough for Saquon Barkley owners, especially in dynasties, right? If you're sitting on him for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been rough. So that was good to see. The other guy that I thought really produced for us is somebody that in our live stream that we continue to basically just say you got to get him in your lineup. That's Jamaal Williams, man. Jamaal Williams had a big game. 19 rushes, 108 yards, 2 TDs, also had 3 targets. So just a really good game. And right now, man, the Detroit Lions look like a solid team. They're a solid team, man. At least for fantasy purposes, they are a solid team. I know they lost today, but they put up 45 points, and it was a shootout against the Seahawks. And so right now, I mean, if you have Lions players, they're players, they're guys that, you could definitely start week to week, right? Even Jared Goff, man. I know we'll talk about quarterbacks later, but Jared Goff's looking pretty good.
Yeah, Jared Goff, man, tore it up. And I was worried a little bit about Goff and the Lions really just without their two main weapons, right? They were out their two main weapons, no DeAndre Swift, no Amon Ross. So I thought Goff was gonna struggle, man. But really, man, I think he was close to 400 yards passing. Hockenson with a big game. Josh Reynolds, right, who was a good little streamer that we had. One of the players that we said you could stream in a pinch, did pretty good. So it was just crazy, man. The Lions are still tearing it up, and Goff is in the conversation for being. Man, I don't want to put him too high, but he's doing great right now, man. And with or without the weapons this today, he still puts up a solid, solid effort and solid numbers, man. So another two other running backs, Austin Eckler, man, with a huge day, 33.90 fantasy points. So big night for Eckler. Only 13 carries, right, for 60 yards, but 7 receptions, man. 7 receptions. So he puts up 33 points. And the other guy that we were worried about, I'm still kind of worried about this guy, but man, he just continues to just outproduce, just overproduce, be highly efficient, and he's keeping it up. So maybe he's gonna keep this up. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire was one of our sells early on in the season, right? Really like last week, just because we were talking about he's getting 10 carries, or not 10 carries, but 10 touches, period. Then 10 to 12 touches. But this already so far off to a hot start for Helaire. He's at 17 fantasy points. He only has 9 touches, but he's got 2 touchdowns. So maybe he's just going to be their big play guy. I don't know. It's only week 4, right? But man, he's just continuing to put up solid numbers. So I thought it's starting like in the third quarter or so. So I just thought it'd be worth mentioning, bringing up Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he's just continuing to just, man, I don't want to say outkick his coverage, but man, he's just continuing to just outshine, man. We're gonna go ahead and go to our two biggest takeaways with the rookies. So we got two rookies just continuing to shine and have a big week. So we're gonna go with a big performance from Dameon Pierce, man. Dameon Pierce, huge game, and the best part about his game today, I know he ripped off like a 70-yard run, but the best thing about Dameon Pierce today was the 6 receptions. That was one of the worries about Dameon Pierce for us, was just that if he was going to be able to just keep producing, it was almost like he was going to be touchdown dependent, right? Without any receptions, if he's getting like 14 for 100, even like 120, it's still going to be only like 10 to 12 points. But now that he gets 6 targets, he ends up getting 6 receptions, only 8 yards, but still, it's just 6 points extra for him. He breaks a big one off, gets the touchdown, so 25, basically 25.9, basically 26 points for Dameon Pierce. So I think if he's going to be getting this work, the targets and the receiving work, I think he's pretty much locked in as an RB1, right? A back end RB1, high end RB2 at worst. But if they're just going to be giving him the work, I think he's going to be solid, man, for the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree, man. He was somebody that we were definitely trying to acquire in a lot of leagues, and we were definitely in the start sits this morning and yesterday. People were asking us a lot of questions about Pierce, and we were basically saying you got to try to get him in your lineup. Even if you have 2 stud RBs, you got to try to flex him if you can. And so, like you said, he just came through for us, man. He's probably the best player right now the Texans have on that team, and so he's definitely the most explosive player. And so they're trying to get him the ball, man. And so the targets to me, like you said, are just very, very encouraging because first 3 weeks of the season, we haven't seen really but 1 or 2 targets. So the 6 targets is also encouraging. And so, like, I agree. I think he can be a top 12 RB the rest of the season for sure.
Yeah, and then the other rookie, right, that we were all expecting, Dameon Pierce is just awesome because nobody expected him to be this good, right? Especially year one, right out the gate. But he had that impressive preseason, so definitely looking like a solid pick in rookie drafts wherever you got him, right? And the other guy that we all were expecting, we're waiting for the breakout, was Breece Hall. Had solid game last week, and then he continues it up with a good performance this week, 15 fantasy points. So 17 carries. That was good to see because we were kind of worried about the game script. Is it going to be game script dependent, right? Last week, I think he's only been having like maybe 6 to 8 carries. So this week he comes out 17 carries. That's good. and then he gets 6 targets on top of it, gets a touchdown. He should have had 2 touchdowns, right? But he fell short on one. Then they ended up giving Michael Carter the touchdown. So Brees Hall, rest of the way too. I think I'm confident can say that he could be like a top 15, right? I don't know if he has the I don't know if he has the ceiling as Dameon Pierce, because I think Dameon Pierce is going to be like the true workhorse, right? I don't know if we'll get that from Hall for a while, but still, man, 20 plus. I mean, 20 plus opportunities for Hall. That's definitely great to see, and I think he could be a top 15 back rest of the way. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, man. Right now he's RB 18 on the season, and that's with splitting time and losing time to Michael Carter. First week, 45% snap share. Second week, 27%. Third week, 51%. So he's basically around a half and half. But I think week 4, I don't have the snap percentage yet, but I think he definitely outsnapped Michael Carter, man, with the 17 rushes and the 6 targets for sure. He got more work in the on the ground and probably through the air. So I haven't looked at Michael Carter's numbers, but I think that Breece Hall, like we said, he's an RB1. He's an elite RB. Those top guys that you draft in the first round of the NFL drafts, those guys are going to be in there, man. It's just a matter of time, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And Michael Carter's he's a good RB, but he's not Breece Hall, man. Breece Hall is so much more just explosive. He's an elite talent, and the coaching staff knows that, and so he's going to start getting more and more workload as the season goes on. And I think that this game might have been just it. That this game might have been the passing of the torch.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is pretty much what we're going to see from the rest of the way. I mean, he got 20 plus opportunities. Michael Carter got 12. He got nine carries and three targets. So that's still not bad. If I mean, really, if Hall's getting in there 20 plus opportunities, that's great. I'll take that. No matter the snap percentage. If he's getting 20 plus opportunities, that's great to see. So one of the worries too was with Brees Hall. One of my concerns, and we talked about, was just with Zach Wilson, right? What it would look like with Zach Wilson back in the lineup, because we know Flacco was targeting them a ton, right? Targeting those RBs a ton. So it was good to see that he gets the 6 targets, Michael Carter with 3, with Zach Wilson in the lineup. So that's definitely good to see as well if you're a Brees Hall owner.
Yep, absolutely, man. One guy that didn't seem to, I know we're not really talking wide receivers, but one guy that didn't really seem to like who Zach Wilson was Garrett Wilson. So hopefully that'll change moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see with those pass catchers how it looks. But one pass catcher that it was good for, right? We saw Zach Wilson in there, and now we have a Kenny Pickett sighting, man. So
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett, it was a quiet night for Deontay, but definitely a big day. We forgot our tag, man. We forgot the tag for the RBs, but we'll remember this one. So definitely a big day for George Pickens, man. So I think we got a glimpse of the George Pickens breakout. It was only for one half. We only got to see it for one half. He ends up with over 100 yards. I think it was six receptions for over 100 yards. But I know that at halftime he only had 2 catches. It was 2 receptions for 30 yards at halftime. So most of his production, right, came when Kenny Pickett came in the game. So George Pickens, right, and Kenny Pickett definitely they have some good little chemistry already, good little connection. So I'm a little bit worried about Deontay, right? I think originally I said this was a bump up basically for all the pass catchers. I think even for Najee, because the offense just looked a lot better once he came in, right? I know if you look at the stat line, he had a couple of picks, but really one of them was like in the garbage time, a little Hail Mary at the end. And really, he's just trying to make something happen. They had a third and long. He just took a shot at the end zone on one, and he gave Claypool a jump ball, 50-50 ball. Claypool didn't get it, got poked away, and they ended up intercepting it. But that was basically his first 2 picks were basically like, I would say like 50-50 balls. I think the second one was a little high. I think he threw it to Deontay a little high, and it got he popped it up. That one maybe was maybe a true pick, but I think the first and the third one, I don't think they're really I don't really count them as interceptions. I know it looks like that in the stat sheet, but I don't mind those plays, those first 2 plays, taking that first play, especially taking a shot downfield, trying to make something happen. So I definitely like what I saw from Kenny Pickett, man, and I think it's promising, right, for George Pickens and really all these pass catchers. But we'll see about Deontay going forward. I know he had a quiet day, but definitely George Pickens, man, they definitely seem to have some chemistry, and I think that George Pickens is going to be a solid guy you could put right big time, obviously for flex because you got him late. So definitely in your flex, he's going to have just a high ceiling, right? Big play upside basically for your flex spot.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's funny because we were talking about it on our live stream, right? Right before the half, like Kenny Pickett, he like had his helmet on, like chin straps ready to go. Like this guy knew, like I'm gonna get in the game, man. You know what I mean? I'm getting in the game, and then we made that comment, like, dude, this guy's gonna play. Like this doesn't look good. Trubisky's not the guy. Kenny Pickett looked amazing in preseason. It was only a matter of time. We all knew that. Those people that were talking a lot about selling Najee, and I think that this just it bumps, like you said, it bumps everybody, but I think it helps Najee a lot. Their offense definitely looked a lot more explosive with Kenny Pickett. They were moving the chains and they were opening up some running lanes for Najee because now they have to respect some of those pass catchers down the field. And so I just think it's going to be good for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward. You know, I think Kenny Pickett is going to be a solid quarterback in this league. And like you said, the interceptions weren't his fault, man. You know, and he also had 2 rushing TDs. So you know, it's funny because in the live stream, again, we said it this morning. Kenny Pickett's going to be in there. It's only a matter of time. I wouldn't doubt it if he's in there next week, and he actually got in this week. So, really big boost for Kenny Pickett. Big boost for all the pass catchers. I do think that I do still think that Deontay is going to have value, man. I know George Pickens looked great, but Deontay is a good wide receiver, so we have to see moving forward. You know, who Kenny Pickett prefers, right? So
Yeah.
that would be my only thing, but we'll see. And George Pickens is probably available in a lot of leagues, man. I know this ain't in a waiver wire show, but he might be available, right? He might be somebody that we need to talk about on the waiver wire show for sure.
Yeah, I think similar to Dobbs, like some people like, held him for 2 weeks, 3 weeks and dropped him. So I'm pretty sure that he is on the waiver wire. So I'm sure he'll be on the waiver wire show. I held on to him, man. I'm glad I held on to him. I was anticipating Pickett coming in. And usually it's week 4, right? There's usually it's usually that week 4 when these rookies, right? They pay homage to the veteran, let them try it out, and after it's just already a dumpster fire, right? They put in that rookie. So another rookie receiver, still continuing to have good performances was Chris Olave, man. Chris Olave, we still, we had no Jameis, and still Chris Olave goes out there. It was only 4 receptions, right? But he made work out of that 4 receptions, man. 67 yards, gets a touchdown, his first touchdown in the league. So, man, it's just good to see Chris Olave, man. He's just a solid receiver. He's a big play upside, big play threat every play, really. So, just on the field, he's always just going to just produce. So, out of limited targets, only 4 receptions, still gets you basically 17 fantasy points. So, definitely solid to see another solid outing for Chris Olave.
Yeah, for sure, man. He was somebody that I started in a lot of leagues. I was a little bit worried, to be honest, about the Red Rocket. Right, I like him a lot more with Jameis Winston, but even with the Red Rocket, man, you know, he came in. He had 7 targets, which is a good number. But like you said, just the big plays down the field, a touchdown, right? He got us a TD. He got us to basically 17 points, which is a solid game.
Yep. And then finally, we got Russell Wilson. Finally, Russell Wilson looks, pretty good. Has a pretty good game. And now we see Sutton and Jeudy, man. It was good to see Jeudy. Only 4 receptions, 53 yards on, gets a touchdown. And pretty much Sutton about the exact same thing. Sutton was 5 for 52 and a touchdown. So they've finished back to back right now so far. Wide receiver 17, wide receiver 18. So I'm glad to see Sutton and Jeudy having some success with Russ in the offense, right? And really, I'm talking about for fantasy, right? It's still an ugly game, but for fantasy, that's still a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure, man. I have a lot of shares of Judy, so I really hope that this game is just like a little bit of a building block for them. He was hurt early on, had a good game 1. Then he had that bad injury on the opening drive of week 2. So in week 3, he was kind of in and out of the lineup. He only played about a little over 50% of the snaps. So it was good to see him kind of get on track with Russ. Made some big catches down the field. I think he had a 35-yard catch. So, I mean, even if he doesn't get that many targets, he's somebody that, man, can make big plays down the field. And so that's somebody that you want in your lineup for sure.
Also good to see Adam Thielen, man. Adam Thielen, decent day, man. It's good to see because JJ had himself a game, man. And I was worried about that a little bit. I was worried, well, JJ's not gonna have 4 points, right? Because we had some start sit questions with Thielen. So I was a little bit hesitant with Thielen just because you haven't seen really them both do well. And I thought it was just gonna be a JJ day, but it was. But Thielen still, man, 8 receptions for 70 yards. So it's definitely good to see, right? We were a little bit worried. He's older wide receiver, coming off an injury, right? We were worried about how he was going to perform, and he's looking solid right now. Two back to back games that pretty good. So good to see Thielen out there get himself 8 receptions for 70 yards.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's basically been my favorite player for a long, long time, up until obviously we added Justin Jefferson. But yeah, so he's somebody that, I think I'm going to have confidence in, now that he's done it back to back weeks. The way that teams are playing them, also, a lot of teams are doubling Justin Jefferson. And so it's leaving Adam Thielen a lot of one on one coverage. And so if that continues, maybe he can be productive for us and be a wide receiver too moving forward.
Yep. So there's a couple of big performances, man. I think one, Marquise Brown again, right? 6 for 88 and a touchdown, gets 11 targets, man. 20 points for Marquise Brown. So I think I'm not really worried about Marquise Brown with Hopkins coming back. I know that might sound crazy, but I think that he could still be the wide receiver one with Hopkins back. Hopkins is a little bit older, right? He's had a little bit slight decline the past 2 seasons. So I think Marquise Brown is like a sneaky buy low, like in a week or two, right? When people are worried about Hopkins coming back. I might throw out some offers for Marquise, man, because I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, I agree, man. It seems like we get so many Marquise Brown start sit questions, and it's like, guys, Marquise Brown right now, he's a top 10 wide receiver. You have to start him. Unless you have one of those top five, six guys, he's a weekly start. He's not a wide receiver two. He's a wide receiver one. He's proving it, right? With the targets that he's commanding, with the yards he's putting up, with the two touchdowns now in the season. And he's got chemistry with Kyler, man. And I'm not really worried about DeAndre taking too much of his target share when he comes back, at least not right now, man. Marquise Brown is playing like a wide receiver one. He's wide receiver 10 on the year. So he's somebody that needs to be in our lineups for sure.
Yep. And I think it's worth mentioning too, Lazard, man. Lazard had a good day, right? We called Romeo Doubs, right? We said, hey, we could see him being the wide receiver one on that team the rest of the way. But Alan Lazard comes out 6 receptions for 116 yards. But what I like though, still with Dobbs is he still had the same amount of targets. He had 8 targets. So I think it's still worth noting. I still like Dobbs and I still like the potential that he has, in that offense. Dobbs dropped a big touchdown too, man. I wish I could have pulled it up, but he had a big play. I want to say it was at least 40 to 50-yard touchdown. And he caught it. I thought he caught it, man. He fell down, the ball came out. They said they ruled it not a catch, right? Incomplete. But I thought it was a catch, man. And that would have made him just have a smash. He would have had a huge night with that play. So I just still like the opportunity that Dobbs is getting. I like he's getting the target still. He's getting some red zone opportunities, right? So I like Dobbs still going forward, but they can't. It's not to say that they both can't be well, right? So Lazard was our wide receiver 14. Lazard Lazard wide receiver 14, Romeo Doubs wide receiver 24 right now. So still pretty good, man. With Aaron Rodgers, I mean, they could still both be good, right?
Yeah, I agree, man. And also, you got to remember that Lazard was kind of hurt to start the season.
Yeah.
And so, I think this was the first week he was actually left off the injury list or the injury report from that ankle. And so I think he's starting to feel better. And so hopefully he'll continue this production, man. I have a lot of shares of Lazard in redraft and in dynasties. Um, and so I kind of need him to be productive on some of those teams. And so this is a good sign for sure.
Yep. And I guess we'll give the Mooney lovers a little bit of time here because Mooney, I'm sure that they're excited to just see something in that fantasy score, right? So finally gets a double digit night. 13, I think it was 13 points for Mooney, which is not great, but you'll take it, right? He's been putting up some single digit numbers, has like a 1 and a 2 on weeks 1 and 2. So definitely good for Mooney. I mean, I'm not sure though. I think I would probably sell him right now, to be honest. If someone just thinks that,
100%.
oh, they got a glimpse of hope with Mooney, I'd get rid of him. I mean, it was only 4 receptions. Like he made big plays, and I mean, he's good. but he made some big plays, man, and I just don't know if that's repeatable, right? I mean, not it's going to be more bad than good, I guess is what I'm saying. He had 94 yards off of 4 receptions. So I just don't see that, I don't see many games like that in the near future. I see more like what we've seen in the past. The other thing, though, maybe without Montgomery, maybe that's going to change things, right? Maybe without Montgomery, maybe they will target him a little more. Maybe there'll be some more big plays for him in the future. But I just don't see it, man. I would be looking to move off of Mooney right now. After that, even it's not even a great performance, but even just after 13 points, right? I'd be looking to move off of him.
I agree, man. This type of performance, maybe there's somebody out there that sees the signs of life and that is willing to take him. I don't think you can really get much for him still, but maybe you can take him and another like running back and package that running back and Mooney and try to move up and get a different tier wide receiver, like a wide receiver two maybe, and just be done with Mooney, man, because he's not the type of player you want in your lineup. You don't want a volatile player. You don't want a player that can get you a two or a three on a week. You don't want those types of players. You want consistency. You want at least a solid floor with guys that have high ceilings. And right now, I just don't see that with the Bears and Darnell Mooney and Justin Fields.
Yeah, for sure, man. They just don't have the passing volume, as well as really Fields doesn't really get the yardage. I mean, I think he only had like 2 games, if even like it was like maybe 1 or 2 games where he even got 300 yards last season, right? There's going to be a lot of like in the 200, really high 100, low 200 yards. That's what he's going to give you, really. I don't even think he'll give you too many 200-yard games, really. But so as far as quarterbacks, though, man, two top quarterbacks so far: Jared Goff, Geno Smith. We could even
What
throw in
the
Russell
heck?
Wilson. Russell Wilson, number QB3. So bad. I mean, bad and good, I guess, right? For some people that were streaming or still holding on hope. I don't think anybody started Russell Wilson. I would like to know. I mean, everybody, a lot of people were giving up on Russell Wilson. We're hearing Russell Wilson for basically anything on the waiver wire, right? For those start sit questions. So Jared Goff, though, man, continuing to impress. 378 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. And this is without his 2-star players, man. So I think we're gonna have to start talking about Jared Goff a little bit. If he's gonna continue doing this, I think even in dynasty rankings, right? Because he's not that old, man. He's not that old. 27. Talking about superflex rankings, I know Jared Goff is way down there. You might have to be having a new conversation about where he ranks amongst these QBs now.
Yeah, I definitely think he's moving up in the rankings. If I don't have any shares of Jared Goff in any dynasty leagues, but if I did have Jared Goff in a super flex right now, I would try to sell him high. Try to get a 23 first straight up for Jared Goff. If you can do that, you're making up good. The only thing that I don't like about Jared Goff, he literally gives us nothing in the running game, and so it's so much predicated on the pass. And like today, he did that for 4 touchdowns, but last week 1 touchdown is 13 points, right? Because he
Yeah.
just doesn't give us much. And so he's just a little bit, I don't even want to say he's inconsistent because he put up 277 yards last week, right? But it's just if he doesn't get any touchdowns through the air, he's not going to put up those big numbers. He's going to be at a solid 13, 15 points. Not the type of quarterback I want in a super flex. So I'd definitely be willing to trade him, sell him high. For sure, if you need a streamer for bye weeks, he's somebody that I would definitely start. If you had Dak Prescott or Lance, and there's not a lot of quarterbacks on available, he's somebody I would definitely. Obviously, he warrants a start. He's quarterback 11 on the year, so he has had 2 weeks where he threw 4 touchdowns both weeks. But those are big numbers. He does have weapons around him, man. He's got a lot of weapons around him, and the Lions, dare I say, they're a fun team to watch, man. They're a fun team to watch because they just seem to have bought into the system, and the culture seems to like just be really shifting and turning around. Even though they're losing close games.
Yeah, and I think worth noting, man, Kenny Pickett only plays one half, right? 11.3 fantasy points, 120 yards passing. This is with the 3 picks too, right? Without you can't take away the picks because it still takes some of his points away. But still, he finishes point 0.2 behind Derek Carr, who played the whole game. And then he outscores basically Justin Fields. Fields only had a 9.2. Carson Wentz was 7. And the worst one, man, Baker Mayfield with 4.9. Like, dude, what in the world, dude? Baker and Baker just, and it looks like even like the body language of like Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, right? We saw the interview with DJ Moore, that reporter just kind of egging him on to try to get him to say something negative. And he kept it professional, man. Moore was cool. He was impressive in that interview because they were just trying to milk something out of him negative. And then, but today, man, with some of those throws, like he threw them like just way off target. One of them caused an interception where he threw it behind DJ Moore. He had to spin around and barely tap the ball. It got picked off. But on some of those plays, man, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, they're walking with their head down. They just look just unimpressed. They look like they just are had enough of the Baker experiment already. So we'll see, man. I don't know. I think if he continues this up and they continue to look bad, I think we see a QB change, man.
Yeah, you may be right, man. At this point, I mean, maybe. I mean, DJ Moore was better with Darnold. At least, through the first part of that season, Darnold was looking pretty great till he had that injury those first 4 or 5 weeks. So I don't know, man. But yeah, Baker just doesn't look good. And what's crazy is DJ Moore got 11 targets.
Yeah, he
But
did.
only
That's
caught
good to
six.
see.
It's good to see the targets, but they're
Yeah,
just like you said, they're not catchable. A lot of
they're
those
way
targets
off.
are not catchable. And it's like, and you, like you said, he just seems frustrated. Like he knows, like, man, just running out here for fun. The ball's coming, but it's going to be way off even when it does come. And so it's just, I don't know, man. That's honestly, it's one of those I got wrong, to be honest. I thought Baker would be an upgrade. He showed flashes with the Browns, man. I mean, Jarvis Landry was a low end RB. I mean, RB. He was a low end wide receiver one that one year with Baker, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he was a wide receiver too, but still good. I thought it'd be good. I mean, I didn't think it would be. I didn't think it would be as good as people thought, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. You know what I mean? So I can't take a victory lap on it being this bad, man.
Well,
I
you
mean,
also think about the quarterbacks that DJ Moore has had,
yeah,
and so he's been so productive with so bad quarterback play.
yeah,
So we thought that this would be an upgrade, right? And
yeah,
so it hasn't been, man. I mean, he scored 12 points, but I mean that's not what you want from DJ Moore, right? You didn't draft DJ Moore in round 3 or 4 of your super or of your redraft leagues to get to be 12 points a game.
exactly, man. So what do you think, Ryan? Do you have any last takeaways?
I'm gonna go ahead and do a victory lap, guys. And my big takeaway, my victory lap for the week is tight end TJ Hockenson. I called it out on the stream this morning. I am playing him over pretty much every tight end I said this week. I thought TJ Hockenson would have a big week. I started him in my DFS lineups. He was only $4,100 on DFS on DraftKings, and he came through for me big this week in my DFS and also in my lineups. I started him over Pitts. I started him over Conklin. Pretty much everybody except for Kelsey and Andrews this week. I had TJ Hockenson, and he produced for us. He's the not only the tight end one, but he's the player one on the week. Huge week for TJ Hockenson, and so
40
I want to do a victory lap. 12 targets. It's crazy. I remember specifically on the live stream, I said he will catch at least eight balls. So 12 targets, 8 receptions, had 179 yards receiving. That is crazy from a tight end. You just don't see that. That's just crazy. And then also the crazy part is he had 2 TDs. He had another touchdown, and Jared Goff missed him in the end zone. He was wide open. He got overthrown. He could have had 3 touchdowns. So it's just a huge game for TJ Hockenson. I love Hawk. I have him in, oh my God, probably 90% of my dynasty leagues. I love TJ Hockenson. He's a great talent. So it's just great to see. And I just had a feeling with all those injuries that the Lions have, I thought that Goff would be looking for him, and he did, man. And so hopefully, obviously, he's not going to be able to produce this every week, but hopefully this will kind of get him going. Hopefully the coaching staff and Goff know, hey, we got to get this guy more involved now, because you can't have 179 yards from your tight end position and then go back to 4 targets next week. You just can't. You got to get this guy the ball. He's that good.
Yeah, definitely showed what he could do, man. He's definitely athletic. he can catch and run. He can definitely run that thing, man. So 180 yards, man. It's definitely a big night.
I will say one more thing about Hockenson. He won me weeks this week because I had a lot of teams with Javonte Williams starting in my lineup. Javonte Williams with a bad injury.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't look good.
We got to talk about a couple of
Yeah,
injuries. Yeah.
the reports are with Javonte, it might be season ending. It might be a ACL. Let's hope that it isn't. Um, but I had a couple lineups in my dynasty where Javonte started for me and got me 3 points, and TJ Hockenson saved me, man. The tight end premium, ooh, he was amazing today.
Yeah. I guess we could close with the injuries, but before, I want to give two noteworthy names in the top 12 for tight end. So Mo Ali Cox, man, was tight end 2. So 6 receptions for 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I like that. I mean, he was 6 for 6. So I think that's good. I'd rather talk about him versus someone that was like 2 for 2 with 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? And then the other guy I think is Pat Fairmuth, man. We heard, Kenny Pickett is in there now. Fairmuth got 85 yards, 7 receptions, 9 targets. So definitely good to see for the Fairmuth owners. And leading into the injuries, you talked about Javonte. They're saying that it looks serious, right? I know they're going to get the MRI results tomorrow. But JT, I'm hearing high ankle sprain possibly for JT. So that's going to be 4 weeks, I think, minimum. Could be 4 to 6. So not good if you're a JT. Probably should sell, man, to be honest. If you have JT and somebody's like a 4-0 team, people in your league are going to hate you for it. But really, man, you can't hold on to him for 4 or 5 weeks if he's just going to be on your IR, right? You need, especially JT, he's your round 1 pick. So he might be someone you want to move. And then Burks, I don't know the reports on Burks, but I know he was exited from the game too. So he might be out missing a few weeks. Did you hear anything about Burks? What happened to him?
No, I haven't heard about Burks, man. I just heard that he was carted off the field. I'm not sure exactly the extent of the injury. That's all that I had heard up until this point, since we're recording. Um, and with the Jonathan Taylor thing, yeah, I think you're right, man. I would say let's just wait a couple days to see. It's a short week. They play on Thursday. He's
Yeah,
probably out, but let's see if it's a high ankle sprain and he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. Then yeah, you probably sell. If
yeah.
he's a game time decision, I don't know, man. I'm probably holding. I just traded for him in a dynasty league, which is different. Obviously, he's 23 years old, so I like him. The Colts just haven't looked very good.
Their offense
Um,
looks bad.
and so he just hasn't been able to get going, man. But I'm still a huge JT guy, so hopefully he's okay. And the other injury that we need to talk about that wasn't an injury was the DK Metcalf debacle. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
So he was carted off the field. Apparently, that's what the alert was. That DK Metcalf carted off the field, and apparently he had to take a major dump.
Just had
That
to
was
drop it.
the
Yep.
had to go rescue, man. So
It was after a big game too. I guess
yeah,
he just
big game for DK. And I said that was one of the ones I kind of got wrong this week. Sorry, guys. But a lot of guys were asking me about DK. But if you're asking me Marquise Brown and DK or Kirk and DK, I'm taking Kirk. I'm taking Brown. DK had a big game. So maybe he's somebody that we can start to trust because Geno's looked good 2 weeks in a row. But it was the Falcons, man.
yeah,
Falcons, like I said, Falcons have the worst. Oh, no, it wasn't the
one
Falcons.
of
It
the
was
worst.
the Lions. It was the Lions. So the Lions have a bad defense, man. So people can throw all over them. But we'll see. Lockett and DK have looked pretty good. Penny had a big game finally this week. He erupted, showed us what a similar
That's
performance
true. We didn't talk about Penny. Penny,
as he
Penny
did
crushed
last year.
today.
I had a lot of Penny questions. I mean, I'm probably going to continue to sit him if I have better options like Eckler. But if you need to in a pinch, man, he's somebody that can get you pretty good amount. After today's game.
Yep. All right, guys. That's all we have for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to give us a like and be subscribed if you're not subscribed to the channel. Also, look us up on Apple and Spotify. So until then, we'll see you guys later.
See you later, guys.